Welcome to the 2020 Celebration of Stars presented by the Red Oak ISD Education Foundation. The students honored in this program have worked diligently during their high school careers to become outstanding leaders, superb citizens, and representatives of the four talons of the hawk. Likewise, we celebrate the selected teachers and educators who had a profound influence on them. Through actions and words, both big and small, these individuals epitomize the heart of those in the education field. Compassionate and dedicated, they strive to reach each student and help them obtain their potential and fulfill their dreams. For this event in particular, we want to thank Red Oak State Farm insurance agents Andrea Walton and Danny Humphreys. So without further ado, your Red Oak High School principal, Dr. Miller Beard, with the presentations of the 2020 stars.
Hi, my name is Miller Beard, and I'm the principal here at Red Oak High School. And this is one of my favorite events, being able to recognize our top 25 seniors of the 2019-2020 school year. I'd like to start with our very first student, Sara Moreno. Her star teacher is Mrs. Claudia Moreno. Miss Moreno has been there for me through the most influential part of my growth and maturity. I was only 12 when I was taking her Intro to Spanish class. Going into her class, I did not know that I would obtain far more than learning basic Spanish. I would gain my school mom that I could confide in, as well as a friend. And this is what Mrs. Moreno had to say about Sara. Sara was in my first period class, my first year of teaching, her 7th grade year. She exhibited positivity every single day. We bonded over our love for Starbucks. In what could have been the scariest, most stressful year of my teaching career, she and her classmates made sure that it would be one of the best years ever. Sara is one of my whys. Our next student is Georgie Atkins. Star teacher she would like to recognize is Mrs. Heidi Johanna. Although I haven't had Mrs. Johanna for almost 5 years now, I can still clearly remember how much I loved being in her class every day. Her class is what made me realize history is my favorite subject. Being in her class made me see that learning can, in fact, be fun. And this is what Mrs. Johanna had to say about Georgie. Georgie is the type of person who can make a not-so-great situation into a wonderful and even memorable experience. She is the type of student who lights up a room with her attitude and her smile, and I knew that she would strive to do her absolute best on everything. Our next student is Emily Barnes. The teacher she would like to recognize as her star teacher is Mrs. Katrina Keener, who taught her theater. Keener isn't a teacher you can sum up in just a few sentences. There is no limit to her love for her students, or her kids, as she prefers to call us. I can't imagine what school would have been like without her. And this is what Mrs. Keener had to say about Emily. Little M may be petite, but she is mighty. I was so excited when she joined my one-act play team in 7th grade. From that moment on, she has dedicated herself to working to be her best for our department. It may be hard conversations, difficult roles, or trying to decipher what it is I'm saying as a director. Emily has never let anything get in her way of fulfilling a role or her dreams. Our next student is Natalie Beltran. Her star teacher is Chief Lauren McGinnis. Chief McGinnis has always been there for me since I first entered high school, been there for every accomplishment, and been there to alleviate any stress or pain I felt. I am eternally grateful for the tough love she's shown me. I am who I am because of her, and this is what Chief McGinnis had to say about Natalie. She may be small in stature, but she does not let that stop her. During her 2nd year in the program, she was the platoon commander of mostly first-year cadets. This young lady is absolutely dedicated to the mission of NJROTC, which is citizenship development. Our next student is Britton Daffron. The teacher he would like to recognize is Mr. Bill Miller. Mr. Miller's class taught architecture and so much more. From him, I learned important life lessons such as time management and attention to detail. In his class, I never felt rushed or behind. Along with that, he'd tell us some of his stories that have inspired me to go the extra mile to achieve my goals. And this is what Mr. Miller had to say about Britton. Britton was in my architectural classes. He excelled in each class while learning the basics of the architecture field. He is a model student and will be an asset wherever he decides to go in life. It has been my pleasure to have him in class for 3 years. Our next student is Abigail Espinoza. The star teacher she would like to recognize is Mrs. Norma Latham. I started high school understanding Spanish more than I could speak it. Now, because of Miss Latham, I am able to hold conversations with my family members who do not speak English. She is the nicest person I know. She's an exceptional teacher and an exceptional friend. And this is what Miss Latham had to say about Abigail. Abigail is the dream student. She is a quick learner, and she drives herself harder than I do. I'm going to miss her next year, but I know she will do well in anything she chooses to do, and she will certainly leave her own touch on the people she meets. Our next student is Eliza Etheridge. Her star teacher is Mrs. Paige Patterson. Mrs. Patterson improved my experience in high school by believing in my capabilities and encouraging me to apply them. I would come to her with questions about my writing and share my aspirations to become an author. When we spoke about these things, it wasn't like speaking to a teacher, it was like speaking to an old friend. And this is what Mrs. Patterson had to say about Eliza. What I remember about Eliza is how quiet and shy she was in 10th grade. I remember the first time I asked her to read one of her essays to me, and I expressed to her that I was already a fan of hers. I realized how uniquely gifted she is as a speaker and a writer. This led to countless conversations about her writings, her school plans, and her plans for the future. I continue to be impressed by her thought process as well as her as a person. Our next student is Heather Fellows. Her star teacher is Chris Elizondo. Zonzon has challenged me not only as a student, but as a person. Throughout football season, I struggled with handling my emotions, and Zondo was always there to listen and help me get through it. He's never accepted anything less than my best and has constantly pushed me to be the best I can. And this is what Mr. Elizondo had to say about Heather. Her persistence on striving to always get better, being able to adapt to change, and serving others will carry her far in life. She has set the standard for our future students. I'm a better person for knowing Heather. Our next student is Jose Flores. His star teacher is Mrs. Ginger McClure. Miss McClure is one of the few teachers who have sparked my interest in history. I admire that she is passionate about what she teaches, which can be seen in the classroom with presentations or finding goofy history videos to show the class. She has also inspired me to consider the option of becoming a teacher. And this is what Miss McClure has to say about Jose. Jose is a bright, hard-working student who genuinely wants to learn. Jose is genuinely one of the nicest people I have ever taught, and I am grateful for the opportunity to get to know him. Our next student is Mia Hoff. Her most influential teacher was Mr. Brandon Cummings. He is kind-hearted, patient, friendly, and fun-loving. When he teaches, it is obvious that he is passionate about music and educating others. He challenged me in ways that made me laugh, but after we repped the exercise together, I knew in my mind I could do what he was asking. And this is what Mr. Cummings had to say about Mia. When I first came to Red Oak, she immediately stepped up to the plate to welcome the new directors with baked treats. Her leadership and strong example allowed me to do my job with ease and enjoyment. It's definitely going to be different to not have her around anymore, but her care for the band and for the people around her will resonate in our halls for years. Our next student is Logan Henson. His star teacher is Mr. Adam Robinson. From teaching me all I know about livestock and lambs to the early mornings of show and competitions, Mr. Robinson has helped sculpt me into the individual I am now. Not only has Mr. Robinson acted as my mentor through my involvement in FFA, but he has also been a friend that I can trust in and rely upon for advice and truly seek enjoyment in being around. And this is what Mr. Robinson had to say about Logan. Ambitious, focused, and dedicated are a few words that describe Logan Henson. Logan's personal goals and insight have afforded him success throughout his tenure at Red Oak High School. His motivation in the agricultural program and willingness to help others be successful shows a lot about the true character of this young man. Our next student is Scott Herring. His star teacher or coach is Mr. Steven Johnson. Coach Johnson is a great tennis coach and friend. I will never forget the rainy days when we were stuck in his classroom and the conversations we all had. This is what Mr. Johnson had to say about Scott. Scott impressed me as a student athlete who was committed to getting better at tennis. This is not something that is super common. To come after school on your own so you can get better shows the level of dedication he exhibited. Our next student is Mariah Higginbotham. Her star teacher is Mrs. Mallory Lazoya. Mrs. Lazoya let me hide underneath her desk my sophomore year to calm down from being so stressed. She helped me hold on to my faith when school and life got too hard to handle on my own. I know who I want to be because of her. She's a wonderful listener, a thoughtful teacher, and a wholly incredible person. This is what Mrs. Lazoya had to say about Mahala. Even when Mahala first stepped into my journalism class as a freshman, I could tell that she was an excellent writer and a student I could really connect with. She started off in journalism and then became part of the yearbook staff her sophomore year. It's been a pleasure to get to know her over the last 4 years, and I'm very proud of her and know that she has great success in her future. Our next student is Anaya Mosby. Her star teacher is Mrs. Chante Ford. As a junior, I was placed in a freshman level class, Principles of Health. However, there was never a dull day in class. Mrs. Ford greatly impacted my education. I am thankful to have had her as a teacher. And this is what Mrs. Ford had to say about Anaya. The first day I met Anaya, she always had an angelic smile and a positive attitude about everything, no matter what the situation was. She is kind, compassionate, intelligent, and a strong person who has a clear sense of direction and purpose. I have witnessed the exceptional contributions that Anaya Mosby has made to our school's community. Not only is she an excellent and hardworking student, but she has dedicated herself to enriching the lives of students and faculty around her. Our next student is Caleb Mullins. His star teacher is Mr. Eugene Caudill. I guess I hadn't realized what physics was beforehand because after the first 6 weeks, I knew I had a passion for physics. In fact, because of Mr. Caudill, I wanted to pursue a career in physics. Mr. Caudill challenged me to think critically and opened my eyes to a whole new world of science that I wasn't even aware of before. And this is what Mr. Caudill had to say about Caleb. What I've learned about Caleb over the past 2 years is that he takes mastery of any topic to a whole new level. Whether he's doing advanced math or advanced science or academic UIL, he far exceeds all of my expectation. He was the first student of Red Oak to beat me in a game of chess, and I will always remember that. Our next student is Brianna Nelson. The staff member that she would like to recognize is Counselor Andrea Jones. I am thankful for Mrs. Jones in so many ways. She's helped me navigate high school and life, figure out myself, and even grow in my walk with God. I'll always remember the laughs, the tears, and amazing times spent with her, whether it be in her office or on a school trip. I will always be thankful for her constant love and encouragement. And this is what Mrs. Jones had to say about Brianna. Brianna's ability to connect with others impressed me initially. Her desire to help others learn ways to decrease stress remains, as she knows self-care is important. In an age when teens think a lot about themselves and what makes them happy, Brianna is compassionate and thoughtful of others. I am confident that Brianna will succeed because much of what she needs she already possesses. Our next student is Jasmine Ortiz. Her star teacher is Ms. Emily Hollenbeck. Coach Hollenbeck always had a smile on her face and a positive attitude during class. I am thankful for Coach Hollenbeck for being my teacher who made me realize that I truly want to pursue going into business and not to take everything so seriously all the time. And this is what Coach Hollenbeck had to say about Jasmine. Jasmine is truly admirable. She brought a logical and reasonable perspective to every conversation and a calmness to all our group discussions. Jasmine was always interested, or made it seem so, even in the boring aspects of business law. She always participated and was a great group member no matter who she was working with. Our next student is Abby Peavyhouse. Her star is Mrs. Dawn Little. I've had the privilege of having Mrs. Little as a teacher at the beginning of my high school experience, as well as the end of it. She is the epitome of an amazing teacher and person. Her efforts range from holding weekend study sessions to bringing breakfast the morning of the certification test. I have never had a teacher so selfless and willing to drop everything for their students. And this is what Mrs. Little has to say about Abby. Abby is one of the brightest students I have taught. She has no nonsense about her studies, loves to learn, is a great volleyball team player, has many friends, and loves to have fun. She has an infectious smile that I will always love. Our next student is Jessica Pisana. Her most influential teacher, Mrs. Kareth Mitchell. Mrs. Mitchell has made such a positive impact in my life. Her class was always a bright light in my day. She has helped me become a critical thinker and furthered my love of literature. And this is what Mrs. Mitchell had to say about Jessica. Jessica is my mini-me when it comes to literature. Last year, I looked forward to her class each day because I knew that we would have an interesting discussion about whatever novel we were reading. Jessica is intelligent, funny, kind, and creative. Students like Jessica make this job that I love worthwhile and fun. Our next student is Jared Rack. The teacher that he would like to recognize is Chris Eaton. Mr. Eaton has been one of my favorite teachers ever since I first joined Red Oak. The reason I am a musician is because he set me on the path and continued to advance and push me along the way. And he has had a lasting impact on my life that has helped shape me into the person he is today. And this is what Mr. Eaton had to say about Jared. Jared is a fantastic student. From the very beginning, Jared showed a natural musical talent and, more importantly, the work ethic necessary to be a fantastic musician. It has truly been a pleasure to be a part of his education and to see him grow into the young adult he is today. Our next student is Madison Rae. Her star teacher is Christina Valderas. Mrs. Valderas became my counselor sophomore year. She was continuously there for me and helped me through every situation. Mrs. V will always have my back no matter the circumstances. I know if I need someone, whether it be to laugh, cry, or gossip, Mrs. Valderas is my girl. And this is what Mrs. Valderas had to say about Madison. Madison is a ray of sunshine, and she brightens my day every time I see her. We have had many laughs and even a few tears. She has worked and continues to work very hard to achieve the success she has had so far. I don't see this stopping anytime soon. Maddie has an incredible work ethic, and it shows in everything she does. I can't wait to see what Maddie accomplishes when she leaves us. Our next student is Jasmine Shepherd. Her star teacher that she would like to recognize is Mr. Andrew Davis. Mr. Davis is not just a teacher. He makes me laugh, has allowed me to open up as a student, and makes me realize there's more to life than school. He's made English enjoyable for me. He pushes me to do better because he knows I have the potential, even when it appears I don't have any. This is what Mr. Davis has to say about Jasmine. Jasmine always makes the class exciting and keeps me on my toes by interjecting thoughtful remarks or questions, whether that was from our discussions of education to Brit Lit discussions and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Of course, I can't forget that she always steals my food, especially my goldfish. She is hungry for knowledge and my food. Our next student is V. Trong. Her star teacher is Mr. Aydin Camaro. Not only has he taught me how to synthetically divide, but he also taught me how to be a better human. He made all his students feel comfortable asking questions no matter how silly they were. Thank you, Mr. Camaro, for making a difficult subject easy, constantly making me laugh, and for inspiring me to take higher level math classes that challenged me. And this is what Mr. Camaro had to say about V. V has always been a star student. I will forever remember her smile and great attitude. It inspired those around her to be better. Our next student is Jared Wilson. His star staff member is Counselor Kay Allen. As a lost freshman, I relied on the guidance and sense of comfort that Mrs. Allen generously gave to me. Mrs. Allen not only serves me with the guidance needed to graduate, but she also acts as an amazing comforter and encourager, and I can safely say that she has made my high school years much more enjoyable. And this is what Mrs. Allen had to say about Jared. Jared is the student that every teacher wants in class and the player that every coach wants on the court. He has successfully handled the academic challenges of the Hawk Scholars program the same way he approaches the tennis court, with a clear focus on his goals. What inspires me the most is that Jared is not just an amazing student and top tennis player, he's an even better person. Our next student is Julie Zarnt. Teacher that she would like to recognize is Mrs. Cindy Belote. Mrs. Belote helped shape me into the person I am today from a very young age. She understood that I had big goals for my future, even as a first grader. She saw my enthusiasm to succeed and placed me in situations that challenged me to think outside my comfort zone and push the boundaries of my imagination. Many years later, I look back on my time with her and truly believe that it was I who was privileged to have been influenced by such a wonderful example of kindness, passion, and love. And this is what Mrs. Belote has to say about Julie. It has been a joy to watch Julie grow up. Julie's grit and determination to do her very best in everything she attempts is as much a part of her as breathing. Her accomplishments are hard-earned through practicing longer than comfortable, studying intensely, showing up when she doesn't feel 100%, and always thinking of just one more thing to add to an already excellent project. Thank you to all of the students that have worked so diligently these last 4 years to achieve this honor. Your accomplishments will go down in history, but your words of encouragement, your words of thanks to these teachers will know no bounds. It is truly one of the reasons we do what we do. It means the world to them, and I thank you that you've taken the time to recognize them and show very much love for the hard work they've done.
Each story is so inspiring. Truly an amazing group of students and educators who will continue to change the world. We are blessed to have such outstanding young men and women that will soon be heading off to the next chapter of their lives. We want to wish each of you all of the best. Remember your roots. Once a hawk, always a hawk. Now spread your wings and soar. That concludes our presentation. So on behalf of the Red Oak ISD Education Foundation, thank you again for your support and congratulations to our stars.